How many hours does a person work every day? 1 million.
I think it's difficult.
Raise your hand up.
In China, in USA.
Nobody owns business? You have worked as a manager for 1 year.
You have, and tomorrow is not.
Their way, will they be fat or thin? Khabrai district came to your home with a big piece of ice. You will get more familiar with my products when you get your own children. So our main customers are mothers buying clothes for their children. We manufacture textile products. Am I talking too fast, or is it comfort for you to understand? So how are you feeling today? Okay, fine. Is there anybody who is an entrepreneur? Is there anybody who has done his own business? No? Nobody owns business? Okay. Let's talk about business. What is it and how to eat it? Business consists of many columns. For example, one of the columns is manufacturing, the other one is human resources, another one is warehouse, another column is accounting, another one is budget planning, and etc. Business consists of many columns. So first of all, I would like to tell you a story about the Silk Road. Many years ago, when Uzbekistan, the Central Asia, was the heart of the Silk Road map, there were many caravans, and there were sometimes 1,000, 2,000 camels. And to organize that caravan, people needed many knowledge and practice. First of all, people needed, for example, I want you to ask you a question. If you are organizing a caravan which is moving from China to Europe, it is consisted of 2,000 camels. What will be your first step for the project management? What will your, from which point you will start your job? Who has any ideas? Yes, please.
I think it's necessary to determine every destinations till you reach your station, because comparing to the distance of the next stations, you get the enough food or kind of things in order to...
Very good. Thank you very much. So, first of all, you will think about the supply management, right? Supply management. Supply management. First of all, you will think about the supply management, and you will think it's a caravan, so many people, so many camels, and what will they eat and what will they drink during this roadmap? Right? What is the second thing you will think about? What is the second step you will put to organize this project? Their way, roadmap. Supply management. Supply management, then you will draw a roadmap, and then what is your next step? What will you think about it?
Calculating money. How much money do you spend for the caravan, the camel, go to that place?
Money, budget. Then, please be active. Safety, yes, safety management. Safety management. Time management. Thank you. Okay. Safety management, supply management, budget, human resources, because you have to manage how many people you need and how will these people look like, their way, will they be fat or thin to make the camel go his road more comfortable, right? Human resources. And what kind of other managements do we know which are necessary for the business? Imagine a caravan, 2,000 camels multiplied by 3 meters, it's going to be 6 kilometers, right? It's a long caravan. And do you need an international negotiations talent to organize your bazaars in other countries, in other towns? Yes, right? Negotiations. So, all these talents are hidden in our DNA. Our grandfathers has done this job and they had been very successful in this. We just need to wake up all these talent cells, talent DNAs. Today we will talk about human resources, which is very important in holding a business. As an entrepreneur, we have many problems in our business. And mainly our problems, the reasons of our problems is people. The people who we hire make many mistakes. And the programs which you will code or which you are coding and the technology will help us to make less of these mistakes. We will talk about hiring people and what kind of problems do we face as an entrepreneurs in Uzbekistan. Because if you understand the core of business, the main problems, and if you start thinking like a businessman, like an owner of the business, you can give more solutions, you can give the cure for the illness, and maybe you will get the shareholders of the companies. But before that, you have to understand the core of business. We will talk about human resources management. We will talk about HR. This is the world map, and the majority of the people live in this circle. We also are placed in here. But in any way, we have a problem in hiring people, in finding the people who we need, necessary people. So the world population, you know, the week ago, we reached the number 8 billion, right? 8 billion people in the world, and everyone with his thoughts, with his character, with his behavior. 8 billion types of people. But in any way, it is very difficult for us to find the exact person, candidate, who do we need? Human resources. Does anybody have an idea what is human resources is? Who can explain me what is human resources? And why do we need to deal with this management in order to keep our business in correct way? Firing is the last action which you have to do. First of all, in order not to fire a person, you have to hire him in a correct way. So, how many people leave their job, for example, in the supermarkets like macro per month? How many percentage of people leave their work every month in the supermarkets? Like we have Karzinka.uz, we have Macro, we have other supermarkets. How many people change every month? No. In Uzbekistan, in our supermarkets. 100%. 100%. No, it is not correct. It should be in percentage because the amount of people differs according to the business. For example, somewhere work 5,000 people, in other company work 1,000 people, and others. Can somebody guess what is the percentage? 70. 70% of people leave their job every month in supermarkets. Have you worked in supermarkets before? No? How did you guess that correct exact number?
Just one of my friends works there.
Uh-huh.
So he always changed. Once he got hired, he got fired. Yeah, I mean it's just logical that people are temporary there. They are not going to work so long time. They work only 4 months at most or something like that.
Yes. 60-70% of people leave their job in supermarkets every month. It is a huge, terrible number. Terrible number. You always have to teach them, to educate them for your standards to understand their job. So, withdrawal symptoms, employees hit by. So here, nowadays, there are 250 million students in the world, and they all seek for a job after graduating, right? And by the year 2030, they will be 500 million, almost 500 million. Without technology, the business owner's day will look like this. It will look like as this man droning in the papers and in the work. Near years, by the year 2030, many of these jobs, many of these positions in the world will be lost. For example, accountants, loan officers, credit analysts, bookkeeping clerk, insurance underwriter, tax preparer, telemarketer, and others. But in this column, you can see that the jobs which are related with people's behavior, with the psychologists and people's character will rise and others will be lost. For example, taxi drivers. Taxi drivers, now you can see the autopilot driving cars, right? And the number of these cars will increase, and probably the taxi drivers will lose their job. In this chart, you can see that the jobs which are related with the creative thinking will rise, and the works which are done manually, monotone works, will disappear. There will be created new jobs, new works, with the according to the new requests of the economy. For example, chemistry, virtual life, technology sector, they will all increase. Here you can compare the skills that has become more important than the skills who were important 7 years ago. What is the difference between this and this column? What are the new skills needed for the new era people to keep their job? Critical thinking, adaptation, emotions, and coordination with others. So, critical thinking. Do we have critical thinking here? Yes, we have. Critical thinking we have here also. So let's erase this. What? Emotional intelligence. We don't have emotional intelligence in this column, but we have it here. Yes, it is correct. And adaptation, we don't have, so it is important. Where did you see the adaptation here? You just guessed. It is also important. So, the world is changing, and by the time when you graduate from this university, you will see another world different from the one when you have entered the university. Before, for example, in my childhood, my competitor was the guy sitting next to me on the desk in the school. But today, your competitors is not sitting here. It is studying in China or in England, London, in Russia, or in USA or somewhere else. Your competitor, the people who will compete with you in the future, in the next 4 years, is not sitting by you. The automatization of the business process is going to be the main job which you will have to do in the future. Here you can see the percentages, which countries are dealing with it, in what ways. Next slide, please. So, has anybody played this game? What is it? Bowling. Yes. In the year 1950, the bowling automatization was looking like this. So there were children who were picking up the pieces after you throw the ball. Next slide, please. And this is how does the fridge look like in the year 1911. People came to your home with a big piece of ice and put it in your fridge, and your fridge will work until this ice melts out. The next slide, please. Does anybody have any idea what kind of a chart was it? What was it about, this video?
You said it was about the hierarchy.
Hiring people. This is a huge company. There works thousands of people. And how many HR managers does this company need to organize all this process? Well, in fact, for every 50 persons, you need one HR manager. But in companies like this, you cannot manage the process with only HR managers. You need technology. Can you understand your role in the future? In what way you should educate yourself to be helpful for the companies? This is an ordinary company where people work, and to manage this chaos, to make people work efficiently, effectively, what do you need to do in this case? For example, these people are lovers with each other, these are enemies with each other, these are relatives with each other, these are fans of the same football club. So these are old enemies, these are in love. A company, the organic structure of the company, if it looks like this, can it work properly? Can it be an effective company if it is organized like this? No, this company cannot work properly, right? People who we hire. There are some people who think only about money, and they don't care what do they do, how do they do. The first question they usually ask is, how much will be my salary? How much money will you give me? Do we need a person, a candidate like this for our company? Now, next slide, please. There are some people who talk with their family problems at work. Gossip, right? People usually do gossip in the workplace. And people bring all their family problems to the workplace and manage to tries to discuss their problems and find the solution for their problems at the workplace. This is also very bad for our company. Some people come to work just to waste their time. Next slide. And there are some people who just wait for the salary and does not care about the productivity of the company. Next slide, please. And there are some people who try to steal something from the company. Next slide, please. And there are some companies where one worker and many directors, right? In Russian we say один раб, 10 прораб. A situation like this. Next slide, please. Some people are the slaves of their phone cells. They do not do their job. They only sit at workplace and play with the phone, watch the social media. Next slide, please. And there are some people who work only if the camera is looking for them, is watching them. The other ways they not try to work, and they usually look for the blind places where the camera does not see. Let's talk about this. When hiring a person, how can you hire a person who will be the necessary one, and who will add his strength for the productivity of the company. First of all, his interest. Is that person interested in the job which you are offering? So, can you translate me into English these words? Knowledge, motivation, personal skills. So, how can we understand, is a person interested in the job we are offering or not? For example, you have read an advertisement in the newspaper, or you have seen it in the internet. It is giving you a good salary. You want this job. You came for an interview, and the HR manager asked you, are you interested in this job? How can you understand a person is interested or not? And is there any psychiatristic programs which will help the HR manager to understand if the person is interested in this job or not? To understand if a person is interested or not, to find out, there are questions like, what have you done before to increase your knowledge in this area? Questions like this. And for example, motivation. How can you understand if a person is motivated or not? Do we need for our company not motivated person? No, we don't. We need a good motivated people to make our company more productive. So how can we understand if a person is motivated or he is not motivated? What is the difference between candidates who is motivated and not motivated? How can we understand it? Does anybody have idea? Yes, please.
Maybe he will go for job on time and won't be regret for things what his employee will give him.
Thank you very much for your answer. How many minutes an ordinary interview lasts? How much time it will take?
5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes, an interview. Is it difficult to pretend as a motivated person or as an interested person for 5 or 10 minutes? Is it difficult to pretend? It's not difficult. You can easily lie, right? You can easily lie. How many questions there will be in 5 or 10 minutes? Very few. So, lie in an interview is very easy. But there are some questions which will help us to find out if a person is really motivated or not. So, if someone goes to a work and starts with let's say driver. He has been a driver for several months, and then he showed his goodwill, and then his next level was, for example, worker at the warehouse. And then he became a director of the warehouse, and then he changed his place, let's say for example as the assistant of the director, and then he became a deputy director. For example, these all took 2 or 3 years, for example. Is this a motivated person? Because his job increases all the time. It's a talented person. Yes, but think about a person who has come to a company as a driver, or let's say luggage carrier, for example. He has come a luggage carrier, and then he worked in this position for 5 years, and nothing has changed. Is it a motivated person? No, he is absolutely not motivated person, right? Because he does not have any interest to grow up in the position, right? So, there are some questions. And if you place a job offer in an internet, job offer, for your company, you have written the description, the description of the position, explanation of the position. How many people will call asking for this job every day? Let's say manager. Position is manager. Manager, and the salary, let's say 10 million sums. How many people will ask for this job every day?
Every person should have an experience in the manager. Like this stuff is it's not easy way.
Experience. Experience, for example.
Experience for personal experience. Yes.
You have written 1 year experience.
It's not enough, I think.
It is not enough.
It is not enough for manager.
Why do you think so?
I think he should have a good deals in this way, because to be manager is not. I think it's difficult to be.
You think it is difficult to be a manager with a 1 year experience, but you have worked as a manager for 1 year. You have a background before that also. For example, if you give a job offer like a description shown in the board, approximately every day 100 persons will call to the company asking for this job. And how much time will it take for the HR manager to speak with these people? Let's say 5 minutes for everyone. It will take 500 minutes, right? 500 minutes. How many hours does a person work every day? Approximately 8 hours. And if you skip 1 hour for the lunch, 7 hours. And if he speaks 500 minutes for the not necessary people every day, but his salary is working for him, he takes his salary, but you use these person's capacity for not productive job. So if you make a program, you are all program coders, right? You all know what is it. if you make an app which will filter the candidates and decrease the number from 500 to 50. Will HR managers' work be more effective? It will, right? It will. So, to make a worker work hardly as he can, we need to put the KPI. Does anybody know what does KPI means? Key performance indicator. You need to establish your KPI. Next slide, please. Plan target. This one, please. Profit, contribution, loyalty, strategy, efficiency. You need to count all these products into numbers, because without numbers you cannot predict in what way your company is going. Next slide, please. What do you think? Do all companies have KPI strategy for their company, for their workers? 99% of the companies does not know what that KPI is. So you have a lot of work to do in the future. How many companies are registered in Uzbekistan today? Working companies. How many companies in Uzbekistan? 40,000. 430,000 companies. These are working companies, acting companies.
3,050.
It is
358,000.
It is more than 500,000, but working are 430. You can see it in the statistics of Uzbekistan. So, can you imagine the amount of the work you have to do in the future? And these companies, the number of these companies will always grow. By the time you educate and leave your university, their number will come to 1 million. It's a big pool of the companies where you have to find your own clients. Has anybody of you heard about the SWOT analysis? What does it mean, SWOT analysis?
Strength, weakness, opportunity, and the last one?
Threats.
Yeah,
Threats.
threats.
Yes, correct. Are you sure you have not been a businesswoman before? So, many companies does not know what the SWOT analysis is. So, you should be the ones who will explain and make programs, applications for them to make their job easier. And by the way, be the shareholders of that companies and maybe open your own companies which will serve for the other companies. Next slide, please. So, when you are hiring a person, you will add another person to your team. You think normally everyone thinks that the benefit of a person will be much more bigger than the threats which he will bring to the company. I mean, his problems will be less than his benefit. Next slide, please. But there are some people who has actually a very big problem and come to your company saying that he's a good person, he will help for you to grow up, but actually he lies and he is a big problem for your company. Is there any application or any program which will help the owners to understand if the person, the candidate who is asking for the job, he will bring a benefit or he will bring a problem? There is no. So you should be the ones who will create this program. Next slide, please. So what will happen if you add a problem person into your team? He will decrease the company. He will poison the other workers, right? He will poison other persons. Next slide, please. So, in normal, there are people like performers who will do the majority of the job. Big persons of people who are performers, and there are the other people, good makers and bad makers. This will also do his job. This also will do his job. But this will do his job if you explain what to do. And this will do his job if you control what is he doing. And there are some people who you should fire immediately. These are people normally deal with papers, with administrative sides of the company. And integrator, what does integrator do?
Deal with the relations.
Relations in the company, relations between workers. Yes. Administrators, they deal with paperwork. Generally, they deal with paperwork. And entrepreneurs, what does they do? They do with ideas. Integrators, they deal with people and production deals with work. Can you give me an examples for administrator people? Accounting. Is it administrative work, entrepreneur work, integrator work, or the productive work? Administrative work, yes. Counter, thank you. Entrepreneur, who is entrepreneur in the company? Boss is entrepreneur. Thank you very much. Usually boss, not always, but usually boss is the entrepreneur. So, integrators, any ideas for the integrators? HR manager, yes. He deals with the people's problems, yes. And for these people?
Simple
Employees. Employees. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. So, there are some people who are active and who are passive, people who can take more obligations, and people who will just watch beside the problem. Next slide, please. Yes, this one. Effective people will think about how can I help, how can I solve this problem, and The less effective people will think, I don't care, it is not problem, it is not my problem, I will go home and I will watch TV. Next slide, please. The majority of the teenagers think like this about football, about their meetings, about their person who fell in love, about social media, about soap opera, about their living environment, and at the end, a small one will think about work. Next slide, please. So, is there any program or application which will help the owners to understand what kind of a person is the one who is working in his company? Is he a performer if he can lead the company, will increase his salary and be more effective, or he's a poisoner like a snake who should be fired immediately? No, right? We are talking about the problems, and you should understand how it is important to solve this problem. We have the generations, different generations. Baby boomers, generation X, Y, Z, and the next one is Alpha, right? Have you heard about Alpha generation? Yes. Baby boomers. What kind of people are they? Usually they are your fathers or grandfathers, right? Grandmothers or mothers or grandmothers. What kind of people are they?
They want just peace and sit at home.
They just want peace and sit at home. Okay. Generation X. What kind of people are they? What?
In relationships, they are
Relationship. Yes, it is very important for them. Look, people who were born in these years, they are called baby boomers generation, and they have suffered much. They have suffered hunger. They have lived in a very difficult period of life, and family is very important for them. They will give everything they have for their family. These are people like that. If you hire a person who is baby boomers, who is from baby boomers, you should talk with him in a different way. You should offer him a piece work, not active work, and a stable salary. You should promise a stable salary, and that person will work. But for the people who are in generation X, they think differently. For example, me, I'm generation X. I'm generation X. What is very important for that kind of people? They have usually grown up in the street, playing with their friends, playing different games. So friendship is very important for these people. And they need to show himself as a person in a good position in front of their relatives and in front of their friends. So for these people, excuse me? They can communicate. Yes, correct. They can communicate. You should promise for these people career. You will work in this position for 6 months, and after you will grow up for the next position, and by the year 5 or 6, you will be the CEO of the company. You will lead this company. This person will be very grateful. So the next generation, Generation Y. You are Generation Y or Generation Z? Z. You are the Generation Z. Great. So these people should be involved by the job, and the job you are offering for them should be very interesting. You see, every generation needs a different approach, a different way of talk to hire him. So there is no any program or application which will help the owners of the business to understand in what way to make an interview with these people. For Generation Z is different, Generation Alpha is also different. And how many percent of Uzbekistan people are youngs? Young generation. Young generation of Uzbekistan, of Uzb, percentage. 30 or 40% of peoples of Uzbekistan are young people. You think so? Any other ideas? 60. Have you read this somewhere? You heard it. You heard it. Yes, you are right. 60% of Uzbekistani people are young people who are under the age of 30. They are under the age of 30. And Z generation and Y generation is the most working people nowadays. So you need a different approach for these people to hire them. This is a new generation, Alpha generation, who does not understand why should I work with sweat? Why should I work hard to earn money? For example, this celebrity has earned this money for 1 year, and this little girl has earned this amount of money per year. And this one is 1.5 million, and this child is 26 million. This is Alpha generation. So, in my textile factory, what do you think? Can I make work for 3 or 4 million sum salary in Alpha generation? No. They will not work. They will ask me for another thing, right? What should I do to make them work? Next slide, please. Gamification. Gamification is very important for the generation Y and generation Alpha. Next slide, please. Has anybody seen this video before? No? Nobody has seen it before? One person? Two? Okay. So what do you think? What is this video about? What is it about? What? Society. Any other ideas? You see, I was always wondering why Uzbek people walking in Tashkent throw rubbish in the street anywhere they want. They all speak bad words. They behave very badly. And the same people, if you see in Europe or somewhere in other countries, they are so beautiful people, contributing all the rules. They are perfect people. But the same people, if you put into Uzbekistan, they are bad people. And if you see them in other countries, they are very good people. Why does it happen? What changes? Environment changes. So, what is the difference in environment in Uzbekistan and in Europe, for example? Is the air cleaner there and it is bad in Uzbekistan?
In Uzbekistan, people don't pay attention to small problems. They put sometimes trash to the street. They don't pay attention to small problems, just like they pull out some trash in the street and some cans in the street. But in Europe, everyone take account of them, and even in the Japanese build some small places for smoking, especially. And
Thank you very much. The big difference is this. In Uzbekistan, you will not be punished for throwing rubbish in the street. In Europe, you will be fined or punished. Punished for behaving badly. For badly behavior, you will be punished, fined. The difference is in rules. If you break a law in Uzbekistan, there is a belief inside you that in any way you can give some money and leave the punishment, right? But you are exactly sure that in Europe you cannot do that. The companies inside are the same. If someone knows that he will not be punished for doing something bad, he will do bad behavior. If he is sure that he will be punished for that, the rule is the same for everyone, the law is the same for everyone, the justice leads in this company, he will behave properly. What do you think? Equalness and the justice. What is the difference between them? Is this equalness? This is equalness. This is justice. Thank you very much. What is better for a company? To be equal for everyone or to be justice? Justice. So, I will ask you a question. For example, your office is placed in the center of Tashkent. For example, let's say in Amir Temur Square. Your office is placed there. And there is one employee who comes from Alayski Bazaar to your office. And there is another employee who comes from Khabrai district. If you give a taxi money for the person who comes from Khabrai district, it will be justice. But if you does not give him, it will be equalness. Person who comes from Alayski Bazaar, can he say you should be equal for everyone? You should give me taxi money for me also. Is it correct or not?
It's equal, but not correct.
So for the company, it is better to be hold equalness or to hold justice?
It's better to keep the equal.
Equalness. Equalness will be better. You see, your mind is changing. Your mind is changing. Next slide, please. Helpfulness. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. That slide was about gossip. So, next one. Yes. These are my recommendation for you to read what kind of books to understand what is important for the company. The next slide. Yes. So, let's talk about the aim of today's lecture. First of all, I would like you to ask you a question. Is there any insight which you have gained from this lecture which will be helpful for you in the future? If there is anyone who thinks that he has gained an insight helpful for him, raise your hand up. Very few hands. So, next question. Raise up your hands, people who thinks this lecture was absolutely about nothing and it was helpless for your future. Raise up your hands. No? Nobody is raising his hands. So it means that you didn't understand the question or you didn't understand the lecture. So, you can understand it easily if I write the question. How many good insights did you gain or obtain from my lecture? Rise up your hands and tell me, please, how many good ideas did you gain from the lecture? You?
I thought it's like justice, the last thing that we have talked this show, equality and justice. I thought justice is more important, but if it comes to equality, it's like it seems more managing. I understand this thing, it's good insight. And another thing is just keeping balance between how to keep candidates productive, and before hiring them we should know what to do by punctually just listening to their opinions, or not just believing insanely from the very beginning of interview, but just analyzing what they do after this interview that we have.
Equal injustice. You have understand this. Any ideas? Yes, please. More remarkable, what did you get from this lecture?
First of all, I understanding overlook my is changing, like a businessman.
World is changing.
World is changing. Because
What?
worldview,
Point of view has changed.
overlook.
World is also changing, darling. Point of view is changing. And
As you said, like how to keep the money, how to talk with other people, like motivation or personal skills.
motivation.
Personal skills and experience. You should have a good experience. And that's all, I think.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Can you?
I know that we have a lot of problems in our management, in our business, and we have a lot of gaps in it. But today I understand that we have a big gap in road to achieve our historical achievements. If we want to achieve our historical achievements, we should our nation or how I can say the main actors to return our historical achievements is in our profession. I mean, we can change the a lot of gaps in our business with our profession.
You said that if some person reached after 5 years this position and it's not going to change, it's good or bad, you said. I realized that something, sometimes it's not enough just to be motivated because of the, if you have a motivation to do something, let's imagine motivation is abstract saying, today is you have and tomorrow it's not. I think that it's not enough just to be motivated. You should determine your target and you should try to achieve all of your targets step by step, because when you have no motivation even, you have a target to achieve it. But target now never gonna change, but motivation is lost sometimes.
Yes.
I don't know, it's my point of view, that just today I realized this. I think it's motivation today you have and tomorrow you have not. If you have not any motivation, you can't reach this position that you showed.
Yes, you are correct, but I can add something to your speech. We divide people into motivated people and not motivated people. Motivated people also, their motivation changes like dynamics. Sometimes it is very high, sometimes it is low, but in any way it is motivated. But in the future, when you become the owner of the business, you will understand that sometimes there are absolutely helpless people. You cannot motivate them in any way. So people like that, if come to your company, you will start losing money. Okay. Any other ideas? What have you gained from this lecture?
You should not hide our knowledge, I can say, and share our what we learned here. And as you said, that we are not rivalries or contenders here. Our contenders is in China, in USA.
You competitors.
Competitors in another world.
Competitors. Yes, your competitors are in the other world. Yes, please.
To start and punish someone who disrupts our rules in order to have a good environment in the future.
Equal rules for everyone, right?
Control. Punish someone
For
who
everyone,
disrupts.
control.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask you the last question. Was it interesting for you?
Yes.
It was. It was interesting. What do you think? Will it be helpful for you in the future if we keep these lectures going on in the future?
Sure.
Surely. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good day.